community, and this is like one of my favorite times of the year. I know lots of people think it's like dark and gray, but I think what's beautiful about it is watching community come together. And there's so many activities for people to do on the weekends.
I know, and I realize that we've come through some heavy storms and that, things are a little bit crazy. A lot of people in our community, unfortunately, saw some damage from the recent storms, power outages for a long time. So it's my prayer that for those that have tuned in today and they have power, I'm just so glad that people are, coming back to normal again. But
Yeah.
winter traditionally is the time when we come together as a community and do wonderful celebrations and things that make us have joy in our life. And I'm all about bringing the joy. So, Amanda, you're going to be doing something this Friday night coming up, a night of Yuletide cheers with the Welcome Winter celebration. Tell us about what that is and why everybody should go on Friday night.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a festive fundraiser. It's not just a celebration of the season, but an honoring of winter. And it is an inspiring, innovative event that Act Theatre has created in order to help support us for future projects, but also to give back to our cherished communities. So we
Yeah.
will be donating to different charities through the proceeds of this event as well, and supporting our community. Last year we were so new in the community, we didn't have a chance to really do this type of an event. We had just like concluded Haunted House Hamlet,
Yes, yes.
but our priority has always been the community and finding ways that we can support as an arts organization. And last year we donated resources to a low income housing elderly home.
Lovely.
A lot of those people needed really basic things that sometimes you cannot prioritize because other things are demanding those resources. And that was really rewarding to be able to provide those elements. Some things like, really a nice soap to take care of yourself. So that's part of this, is that we really want to continue to give back into our community with a couple different charities this year, and also to bring together the different communities that we have here. So this showcase has 15 plus artists in
Oh,
it.
wow.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. And everybody is bringing something different to the table. We asked them about like how do their family or their culture or they personally welcome winter and the different holiday seasons that come with winter, and to bring a presentation, which could be a song, a dance, a spoken word piece, a musical piece that has no words to it, a movement piece, a monologue, and then we have connected them all with understanding how these artists find that this connects for them in winter. And it's been like this beautiful, we've scripted it all out, and it talks about, in many cultures, winter is a time of rest and reflection and
Sure,
gathering.
sure.
And it's been really beautiful to collaborate with so many people to make this really unique event that is completely family friendly. Children can come and see this. I think it'll be really engaging for them and knowledge forming, and just a really big event for community to come together.
I love the holidays. I love the winter season. I don't like being cold, I'll be honest with you. That
Yeah.
is not the part of the holiday season that I like. But I know that many people have traditions and things that they truly value and appreciate during this time of year. And so, as we're going in to unpack what it is that you're doing, I'm curious about some of your favorite traditions from your own family and your own perspective on what holidays look like.
Yeah, thank you for asking. There's so much for me that I absolutely adore about winter. I do really value the rest and reflection aspects of it. There's so many cultures that celebrate the arrival of the change of the season with different traditions that bring warmth and joy to these colder and darker days. And for
Mhm.
me, like our family goes for a walk on the 25th in the evening when it's dark and it's one of the quietest times I've found in the year. And I often recite to them a poem by Robert Frost, which I'm going to be doing at this show as well.
Wow.
Um, and that came from inspiration. When I was a child, I used to actually go every year to see these two performers from Sun Air Ghost, which is a performance troupe based out of Calgary, who
Yeah.
did a showcase where they toured the world and showcased how different people celebrated Christmas and different things around the 25th and in December. And one of my favorite childhood memories was this poem that Robert did. And yeah, and so it's just always stuck with me. Like some of my earliest memories are going to this as a family.
Mm,
And I wanted to create something that honored what they had created, but really also brought in the talent in our whole community and celebrated that. And another thing that I did as a kid is my family and my grandparents' house, they had like a little ledge that was a step up from like their lower living room to their upper living room. And as kids, we always said it was a stage.
oh, of course. Yes.
Really. And
Age
so
groups. Yes, yes.
every Christmas we would because I loved acting and dancing and all of that, and
Yeah,
my cousin
yeah.
and I did, we would do little skits on it and our grandparents and family would watch it. And then it's now like turned into this thing where on the 24th we everybody participates. Like my grandparents, when they were around, used to do a soapbox band. So like had like the washerboard and things like that.
Yay.
And like my grandfather's not an actor, but the two of them like would have a hoot doing different performances. And my aunt and my mother would take old like Christmas jingles and then readapt them to be talk about like what we did as a family during the year, and they were like cheeky and saucy and fun, and so like I come by it very honestly.
Ever. Oh my goodness. I love this idea. I think it's brilliant. I
Yeah,
absolutely do.
yeah, and it is kind of Victorian inspired, right? Like in the Victorian age there wasn't TV, I mean there wasn't even radio. So people relied on a lot of books and poetry and plays as their major source of entertainment, especially when the nights were so long and dark. And a
Absolutely.
lot of that came to like poetry reading or ghost stories. I mean, that's how a Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol is like one of the most famous ghost stories out there.
Yeah.
So these are that kind of pulls in from that, and we also have a bit of that honored in our show as well.
So the essence of it all is really the stories and the sharing of different people's like core values as they relate to Christmas and the holidays and the winter season. What day is solstice this year? Is it the 21st or the
Yeah,
22nd? Yeah.
it's always the 21st, which
Yeah.
ironically is my birthday. I was born on
Really?
solstice day.
You were born on the solstice. Well, no wonder this is even more fantastic for you to
Yeah.
participate in.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it is the boiled down essence of this night is about community
Yeah.
and to find ways that we can build joy and warmth when, it can be like people struggle with the darkness and you want to hunker down and isolate more. And sometimes it's actually the opposite that we need to do. We need to light candles so we feel that light and warmth. We need to be around each other in community to uplift our spirits. And so this is a really like holistic, homegrown way to do it, while knowing that like even though you're financially contributing to this, you're helping a whole community of people.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. And when you're giving back to the community in itself is an organic and living, breathing being. And so what we put into our community is really what we get out of our community as well. When you invest in your time and your love and your passion and your joy, then that radiates tenfold out into community. And so I'm really delighted that you're going to be doing this in our community. Where is it going to be held, by the way? I mean, and I normally, about halfway through the show, I'll tell people to go get a piece of paper and a pen. But in the meanwhile, what does that look like for the location and why did you choose that location? And tell me more.
So we are doing it at St. Andrew's United Church, which is becoming an arts hub. It's down in the old quarter.
Hmm.
And what I just love about it is that they have like this really big goal to turn that whole church facility area into this, again, another community supporting venue that can, and it already does, like there are
Very much
lots of
so.
different organizations who uses that facility. There's choirs that practice
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
There's
Beautiful
different
church.
non-for-profit organizations who have it as a meeting space. ACT has rehearsed there. And they're really like arts and community based. And when I approached them about doing this, they were 100% on board and really excited to see they have an old stage in this church. I mean, it's a heritage piece in our community, and it hasn't really been used as such in years and years. Like I honestly don't know how long it's been, and so we're using it, and we're having this, this presentation that's done that feels a bit like a Disney Channel slash vaudeville performance. And they're really excited about seeing it kind of breathe life back into that space again.
For sure.
um, and it's accessible. There's really great parking. People with wheelchairs can easily get into the building. It's a safe space for people as well. So that's something that it was really important for us, was making sure that like it's really inclusive for anyone in our community. Uh,
Mhm.
and yeah, and I love the fact that like this is something we always look, as a parent myself, I always looked for things that I could bring my kid to at any age, and that they have different takeaway values. And this show really does that. It's something that anyone in the family will appreciate. Young and a fine wine can enjoy it.
I love it. I
So,
love it. I love it. As we get a little older, we're always looking for experiences more
yeah,
than gifts, right? Experiences become so much more essential to our well-being. Stuff is stuff, right? And don't get me wrong, I love stuff. But I love stuff for a different reason, right? My Christmas tradition is very different than a lot of people's Christmas traditions where we grew up very, very poor and we relied on the community. So I'm a recipient of those food hampers and Christmas hampers and, things from CKNW Orphans Fund and the Salvation Army and all of those things. My Christmas has a very different connotation to it. So stuff sometimes to me means you are remembered.
yeah,
Right. So it's a little different in that regard. However, it's as I get, obviously, I'm not a young girl anymore and I'm not receiving hampers and such, but I do remember that feeling of wanting to feel the experience of being part of the holiday season and feeling included in it, right? And so hearing that you're doing a show that's got like all kinds of different and wonderful, different kind of pieces to it, I think really makes for a very robust and wonderful, wonderful experience for people to share. And so if you're looking for a good Christmas present, an experience is a good way to go. So,
100%.
Friday's a good way to do it. Start early.
Yeah, it's a great way to bring, like, I always think of, again, as a parent, I think of what can I do to create core memories,
Yes,
right? When we're not here, how are we remembered in our children's minds and our
so
families'
true.
minds? And like when I look at Sun Argos's performance that they did, that like I will like never forget. It's imprinted on me. I have core memories of it, of
Yeah,
going to it annually with my mom and my aunt and my cousin. That's something here that like people will be able to create a core memory. And it's the event itself is not just a performance. That is a large element of it, but we have a fun photo booth area
oh,
where
that's
couples
great.
put up like a camera or use their iPhone, and we've got like a winter backdrop. It's all non-denominational. It's all about winter, and we've got fun little props that they can like put on and hold up to take like goofy family pictures. Which is like something that people really want to do. And again, don't always have the ability to put aside Christmas card money and other gift stuff. So we've tried to incorporate that. We have a pine cone wish center, which is honoring
Mhm.
again some Icelandic traditions and Celtic traditions, where you take a pine cone and a piece of paper and you write the wishes that you want to bring into the new year.
Yes.
And you can take that pine cone and you can bury it, which sometimes makes a tree, which is kind
Mhm.
of lovely in its own circular way. Or you can put it into the fire and let it crackle and let those wishes go up.
Mhm.
It's such
Beautiful.
a beautiful tradition,
Great
and so
opportunity to make some memories with your family and your friends and to do all of that kind of stuff.
we have a
So
making station as well, where people can cut their own paper snowflakes. And
Oh, fun.
yeah, so there's activities before, and then we have the show. We have an intermission where we have our snack and savor station where people can have hot chocolate. We also have a vegan hot chocolate, and they can like gourmet top it up with different toppings. We have a cider and some other yummy snacks that we're bringing in for that. And people can continue to enjoy the booths and socialize, and then the show continues again, and they can stay afterwards as well.
So the show itself will have an intermission then, so you can do it a little bit before, a little
Yeah.
bit during, and a little bit after, as
Yeah.
well as and so what time does the event start?
Yeah, absolutely. It starts at 6:30. We
Okay.
really wanted to make it like a manageable time, especially for families, but it still allow you enough time to get home from work and pick everyone up and go out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So it starts at 6:30. The show starts at 7. And then people are more than welcome to hang out after the show, socialize, and continue to enjoy the atmosphere that we've worked hard to build.
So when you say that there's other people that are going to be in the show itself, right? That
Yeah.
have brought like where did these people come from? Are these actors that you have worked with and from act theater, or are they, where are their community members? Like, who are these fabulous, wonderful performers?
Yeah, it's from our whole arts community. Like that's when we put the call out to our community to be like, would you like to participate? We were shocked by how many people were so enthusiastic about this, and that there seemed to be really a need for this kind of thing in our community. So we have people who have been actors in our shows previous for sure. And then we have, for instance, Jonathan Greenway, who is the artistic director of Western Edge, is presenting 2 pieces. We have some of the youth from Nanaimo Young People's Theatre
Nice.
are presenting. So we have like a green eggs and ham excerpt musical, which is so cute. And like I saw it and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is awesome.
So
And it's
cute.
important for kids to see other kids perform. Like it tells them it's not just an adult thing. This is something
Absolutely.
you can do. And so we have a couple presentations from Nanaimo Young People's Theatre in that group. We have some people who have done radio plays for years and years in our community who are doing different presentations. So it's a huge mix from young to like I say, like a fine wine human.
Like a fine
Um,
wine.
yeah, and I think that what's lovely about that is that we're getting so many enriched different perspectives, lots of different cultures that are tied into this as well. And we talk about like how these pieces relate to the culture and the time of season. It's not just like a Christmas focused thing. It's really about winter and how different cultures welcome winter. Of course, there's elements that talk about the Christmas season and solstice and that kind of thing, and the different cultures that are connected to that time of year. But it really is about like how do we as communities around the world welcome the season change, and what do we
Mm.
together to help make these darker nights feel bright and warm.
And what I find interesting about winter is that depending on where you are in the world, winter can either be a welcome, right? A welcome season, or it can be a season, as you said, that's really built on reflection and staying warm and, kind of going inward before opening once again in the spring. And it's really interesting, actually, that we're having this conversation today about the winter, especially because we've seen such a drastic season change this year.
Yeah.
Isolation, though, is a really important part of the conversation that you had brought up earlier in today's discussion. And I kind of want to touch on that isolation piece because we do know that isolation is considered to be the new smoking.
Yeah.
So, especially for older adults that live in our community, right? It's very easy to get to. I don't know about you. I'm going to be perfectly transparent. At this time of year, I'm happy that that we turn the clocks a different way. My clock in my bedroom lies to me. I don't change it. I don't change it. I look at it and go, oh, I have an extra hour. And so for me, I'm not a winter bunny. I'm not. I like my blankets. I like my warm fireplace. I like to be cozy. And I count down the days to spring, right? That's me. Having said that, I also have a lot of people in my life. It's like it's ski season. It's get outside. It's let's do the winter ex activities, the sleighing and the snowmobiling and like all of the winter stuff, or let's do other things that involve the cold. Um, and so I'm curious, how do we encourage those people who like to be more isolated at winter time to come on out, besides coming to see the play? That's a big part of it, right? Is getting out and being in community. What do you do to keep yourself, ready to play in wintertime?
I mean, I think that's a really great question. I think a lot of people think that, you know, getting out means necessarily leaving your house or leaving the comfort of your blanket. But if you have people who are like the people who want to go out or are wanting to venture out of their own home, for me, one of the things was like I can go. Actually, I just did this with one of my dear friends here in this community. As I was like, I haven't seen you in ages. We're always tired and we're always going, how about we have a PJ party together? Like I'm not gonna
Yes.
do this. I'm gonna come in my PJs and my floppies and my toe socks, and I'm gonna bring like a drink with me and some pizza, and we're gonna sit and gab and watch a movie together. And like they're like, yeah, but I don't want to leave my house right now. And I'm like, cool, I'll come to you. Like, and
Yeah.
that's the community of the three of us. Like that is still significant. That makes a huge impact. And like, it's still bringing warmth and light in a darker time. And sometimes you just need, like, just like it is, sometimes you need a buddy to help you clean. You need an accountability buddy. Sometimes you need that friend who's like, let's go for a walk, or let's go have a cup of coffee or a hot chocolate, in one of our local coffee shops together. Like sometimes you just need that friend. And so that's something that I'm really aware of, is like I think I'm a little bit like you, Kathy. Like I have a blanket addiction and I have a lot of blankets, and I love just like hunkering down
I
and burrowing,
know.
and
Yeah.
it's purposefully colder than, like, most people walk in and they're like, oh, it feels like a colder house. And I'm like, because I want to have my fireplace on. I want the
Exactly.
excuse to have that on. I want my candles. I want my blankets.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
finding the ways that we can do that. I mean, one of the things that ACT is doing this year, which we did out in Calgary too, was going out to different um, elderly homes, which often there's a lot of shut-in that's happening
Yes.
there due to accessibility or the fact that there's not enough service buses available for people. And so we're bringing shows to them this season.
That's
Um,
great.
yeah, yeah. So this year, we're performing a radio play, a Christmas Carol, to a bunch of the seniors' homes, and also donating our time to some of the low-income housing ones as well, who have asked for the performance, in order to make arts and entertainment accessible for our senior citizens in our community, because there are wisdom keepers, there are knowledge keepers, and we need to give back to them as they have given to us, and to provide that entertainment that helps them feel like they're involved as a community member in our greater city.
I'm so happy to hear that you're doing that. I do recognize that a lot of our elder care homes, for some people, that again, it's an isolation issue, right? They may be with other people, but unfortunately, at times they're not necessarily well. And
No,
so to
sometimes
be
their
able,
families aren't around
yeah, and
either.
the family's not around, and like there's lots of reasons, there's lots of things that happen in elder care homes. And so I think it's really important that we're able to bring theater to people. And I don't know about you, but if I have a choice between seeing something live or watching something on the tube, I would rather see something live any day of the week. Like I love the theater. And so for me, that's something I would prefer to do. But I know that most people as well, given the opportunity and the circumstances, so that, they have their buddy that's taking them with and going, come on, let's go see this, which is
Yeah.
definitely encouraging, but also to take it to them is really, really important. I'm so glad that you're doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is such a critical element to really, if we're going to talk about community, if we're going to talk about access needs and accessibility and support for our community, so many times our seniors are the people who get forgotten, and yet those are the people who have, created a lot of these traditions, who have been there, who honor us and share that knowledge. And as elders in our society, they need to be provided with the same opportunities as much as possible. And so that's just something that's been, when I was a child, I was a candy striper, and that was one of the ways I volunteered, especially in the winter season, was just sitting with someone and reading with them, or just asking them how their day was and engaging them. And you can see the change in their eyes from, something that just feels like they're just making it through another day, to like this sparkle of engagement and life that gets rebreathed into the person. So that's just a really beautiful thing, and something that I really wanted to give back to our community. I've only been here for a short while, and ACT's only been here, well, this is our year anniversary.
I
And
know, I know. But what an incredible impact you have already been, right? I mean, there's no question that the what you have brought our community, so far. And I feel so blessed too. I've gotten to know you in this time, and to be able to see your shows and to see the quality of work that you guys do, and to share the name ACT kind of makes me a little happy. I mean, this is Act 3 after all.
working.
Right, which by the way does come from old theater scripts, right? That's where it all started, was that
Yeah.
that the first act is the fresh stuff, the second act is the middle stuff, and the third act is the sunset of stuff. And for a lot of people, the sunset is the brightest time of their lives. This is the time when we have a few different stresses, and like you said, we can imbibe and share those meaningful traditions, and pay them forward, which I think is probably the most important thing that we can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
I'm
is.
going to take just a quick moment here. Listen, if you have just tuned in, you're listening to Act 3 on CHLY 101.7 FM. I am Kathy Holmes. I am delighted to be your host for this program, not only here, but also on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and on our television program, which you can listen to. And every day of the week it's on, although we only do one taping per month. Right now, we have a show going on. We're going to be taping another one coming up in September. So turn to Rogers Cable 4. Check us out. We're on 4 times a day, Vancouver Island wide. If you are looking at this holiday season and wondering what you would like to do with it, nice way to start it will be to maybe check out my guest's show this Friday night. I think it's going to be definitely worth your while. It's called Welcome Winter Celebration, a Night of Yuletide Cheers. It'll be on Friday, November the 29th, beginning at 6:30. Amanda Cutting is our guest, and we are talking all things fabulous winter solstice. Tell me more, tell me more. I'm so happy. Like I love giving to our community. I really, really do. It's probably arguably one of my favorite things to do. And when I think about that, and I think about, as you said, making those memories, right? Giving kids an opportunity. I remember when my son was little during the winter time, I lived on the mainland back in the day. And when my son was small, I'd have him get dressed up in a little suit, and we would go to Massey Theater. And on a Sunday afternoon, we would do the symphony, because at the time they did children's shows, right? Many of the Walt Disney productions and things like that, they would do them with the symphony. And I remember, it was an opportunity to teach my son how to be a gentleman. So he would put on his suit, he would open the car door for me, he would let me get in the car, he'd go around, he'd get in the car himself, do up our seatbelts, we'd go to the show, he'd come around the car and open the car door for me, right? It was an opportunity to teach my son the arts and the respect for women as well, right? Like to be kind to everyone. And I think the arts are so important to be able to do that with our children. And so, for yourself, how did you start going to the theater? You were talking about your mom and your aunt and the show that you went to see. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, my mom has been like a huge factor in me being in the arts and being an arts administrator. I think like it came from an element of like she wanted to be in the arts, and in her time period that just wasn't a really hugely respected job. I mean, she wanted to do radio and television like you're doing right now. And she actually went back when I was in my late 20s and got her degree in radio and media, because it was
Wow,
just,
good for her.
yeah, she was, and she was in her 60s when she did it. And
Yeah,
I think that was such an important element for her because she wanted to do it. And although my grandparents were incredibly supportive, it just wasn't a thing,
yeah,
that you
yeah.
did. There's a
Very
certain
true.
people who did it, and it wasn't very accessible.
Yeah,
So I think when I, as a child, was inclined to the arts, she provided every opportunity that she could, and really sacrificed a lot for me so that I could take dance lessons and singing lessons. And, I did speech arts. I had, a little bit of an articulation issue when I was a child, and speech arts really helped me with diction and clarity. And then I clung on to the performance side of things.
yeah.
And so she was a really big backer. And I mean, we would go to the Children's Festival in Calgary, which unfortunately is no longer around, but she would pull me out of school to take me there because she thought that the arts had just as much of valued education as our normal public system is. And I would agree, like the appreciation I have for different cultures, for different people coming from around the world, is completely based in the fact that I was exposed to arts at a young age. The ability that I can speak the way that I can to different situations and present myself with confidence and clarity comes from being an artist and learning how to carry myself and how to read poems and understand what they mean and then speak to that eloquently. We look to things like poetry a lot, when we are in times of grief or sadness or, love, but often it's grief and sadness. And it used to be a thing that it was a way to heighten any moment. And what I love about our show is that there are some poems that are being presented by different artists, from different cultures. And it's really lovely to see, like, where our local heritage here, being celebrated. We have some spoken word that is being done. And as a child, my mom didn't really like skew me into like just theater for young audiences, which I think is amazing and a great opportunity. But she brought me to, like you did with your son, to, orchestras and operas and things that a lot of people would be like, are they really, like, as a kid, actually getting much out of it? And I can tell you
They do.
with,
Yeah,
yeah, 100%, they do.
thousand percent.
They're a
Yeah.
lot more perceptive than we give children benefit for. And these kind of shows really add a cultural depth and value to us as people. So
I
I think it's such a critical element.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that when I look back on so many people's lives that I am that I've known over the years, where they've had theater as their background at one level or another, whether they were in high school productions or whether they in stop there or whether they carried it through for other things, there's a sense of eloquence that comes with that, a sense of confidence that comes with that. I think people learn how to deal very quickly with adversity. I think that they learn very quickly how to deal with the negative. No, no, you're not the right part. You're not the right size. You're not the right this. You're not the right that. So I think that there's an incredible opportunity for us to understand the world in a very different way from that perspective. Um,
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, in the case of my son, I think my son has grown to be a very eloquent and fantastic individual, not just because he's my son and I'm partial to him, of course, but because when he speaks in a meeting, he is heard. When
Yeah.
he has business around him, and because he was exposed, I is what I believe. I don't know. My son didn't follow the acting. He didn't go down that road.
Yeah.
However, he learned by participating with me in all those years. I think he understood people a little bit in a way that other people may not have had such an opportunity. I think there's something really wonderful about the arts, and it's a shame that over the years we've seen some of the arts dwindle in school systems.
Yeah, massively. Yeah,
You
it
know,
definitely is. I mean, it's unfortunately one of the areas that when we're looking to save money, that's
yeah,
a cut. And yet, if you look at all of the things that we value in the world, they are arts founded. I mean, we listen to music that comes from arts.
that's
We
right.
Netflix TV shows, that those are actors, those are script writers. A lot of it, like some of the most popular stuff that's coming here is based in history, which is tied in with the arts. So,
Absolutely.
and it is ingrained in our culture. It is the foundation of how the storytelling is the foundation of how we continue to remember our history. And that's, I think, the root of performance is that that's how, before the written word was a thing, that's how we passed on tradition. That's how we passed on knowledge of medicine and keeping of our community. And I think we underestimate its power and impact. We underestimate how that can impact children, and being able to learn to sit in a place and watch something and engage, or get up and walk around and still be able to enjoy what's being presented is a really important trait that needs to be honed with youth. And
It's a
uh,
skill actually to be
yeah,
able to do that. It's a skill to be able to sit and listen and present and like every component of it. It's really an important skill to have.
it is. Yeah.
And if you don't have the opportunity to have it, the opportunity to witness it, to, come to a play or come to an event like you're having this week and be able to share in and get the exposure for that, it's a really, really great thing.
And it's also like, again, it comes back to community, where like we're going on break, we're not going to see some people as frequently as we might normally. It's a great way to be outside of the work or the school, or you're volunteering, to be able to connect with your community. I loved the fact that, like, it also taught me a bit of etiquette. Like, my mom always said, like, we dress up a little bit when we go to theater. It's a way that we're paying respect to the people who've dedicated time. I don't think that that's essential, but it's a great fun when you're a kid to put on something a little bit nicer, or to put on that sweater that grandma gave us or grandpa gave us, and go out to something that really feels like it's for all of us. And to, like, have that grown up hot chocolate, and
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have
totally.
to tell you, I still remember putting on my red velvet party dress. I do. I remember it very, very clearly putting on my red velvet party dress. And it was a big deal because you didn't get to wear your red velvet party dress to just any place, but you could
No.
go see a play with it, or you could do something that was particularly, outside of our everyday normal kind of just being, right? So I
Yeah.
totally get it. And so my next question for you is in relation to like just the piecing and the putting and the technical side of putting it all together, right? Because as an administrator, as a director, you really are looking at this whole big organic picture and trying to bring it and hone it into a beautiful organic piece. So, what's your process?
This, I really let it be artist led, which was really neat. We wanted this to be something that didn't cost people a lot of time, that it was something that they already had in their wheelhouse or in their back pocket, or something that they were really excited to share. And so I reached out to them and I said, like, if this is something that you want to do, bring it forward, and say, like, what do you want to present? Is it a dance piece? Is it a movement piece? Is it spoken word, a poem? And then tell me why it's important, or why it's connected to you, or your culture. And then, which was really fun for me as a
Hmm.
artistic director. And, like, I wrote the script for the show. Is like, from that, then I took a little bit more time and did some research. Like, if it was related to a specific culture, I was able to then dig that up a little bit more, and then share some of that, why that is a part of that culture, in our host. And so Ben Francis, who's our artistic producer in our company, is going to be one of the hosts for the evening. And it's cool because we've interwound a bit of, like, when I talked to you about me and my cousin being on stage in our grandparents' living room,
Yeah.
there's a little bit about that, that shares some of the things with the Nanaimo Young People's Theater group who is coming to perform. Ben's big thing is, like, he loves movies. Like, he's a movie file big time, and in particular holiday movies. Like,
Oh,
that's his jam big time. And you'll see it on our Facebook site when if you go in the next few days. We're doing and two different things that we're promoting, but the on our Facebook site, he's going to be doing Ben Francis's list of holiday movie and TV show watching. And so he's literally gone through and curated for basically from the start of November to December 26th, a bunch of different movies that you can
Oh,
watch one
wow.
night or TV show that encompass the holiday season.
Oh my God, how wonderful is that?
It's really cool because then what do we feel like watching? Is it a black and white movie? Is it happened on Fifth Avenue or The Holly and the Berry? Or is it, White Christmas? Or is it My So-Called Life's Christmas episode, which is one of my personal favorites that speaks to charity a lot in it. And yeah, it's really cool. So he has a little blip that's in there too, that's like our own personal share. But we really went by what the artists asked and brought forward, and then kind of created this beautiful flow that takes us around the world to different cultures and different times of human existence to speak to winter and the different times that we honor throughout the winter season.
So without giving the play away, because we don't want to do that, right? I'm curious, and your curation of not only the movie side of things and all of that for your Facebook thing, but for your show itself, for you, what's the highlight of this particular show? Like, was there a culture or a presentation in the processing of putting this all together that has really stood out for you? And without giving it away, what's the why?
Oh, that's such a good question. I mean, I learned so much just kind of weaving Ben's hosted script through it all. Um, I don't know if I can really isolate one thing out there. I think that what's really captivating is just that there's such a diverse representation
Hmm.
in the show. And I love how like something that I like one of our presentations is a song that I've heard numerous times, but didn't really associate it to the winter season. And then through the research went, oh, this is totally about the winter season. This makes sense, or this is a cultural piece that I mean, I knew it was a cultural piece, but I didn't really understand its relevancy in relation
Yes,
to
yes.
this time of year. And
Hmm.
yeah, so there's some really fascinating learning moments for me as a person. And yeah, I just love what people have given me like an eye into each one of them and their families, which is so neat.
There's a famous quote or saying that talks about that people won't remember what you do, but they will always remember the way you made them feel. And I know that I've misquoted that. So for our listeners, wherever you're listening, whether you're on YouTube or whatever, it's all good. Just saying, I'm just leaning into that quote for a reason because I think that, when we are shopping at this time of year, when we're going around community at this time of year, when we're seeing shows at this time of year or watching commercials or listening to whatever, what I feel about this holiday season, that being holiday season in the 3 months that it is, and not just Christmas or however you celebrate, is that feeling of togetherness that constantly comes at this time of year, whether or not it's through those beautiful romantic rom-coms at Christmas time where boy meets girl, girl meets girl under a hot cider or whatever. Hallmark and I got to be very good friends a few years ago. I had to take a deep dive away from Hallmark for like 2 years because I had saturated my brain so much with holiday movies. It was just too much. However, the feeling, is so significant there. What feeling do you want people to walk away with?
Warmth, that they're
Yeah.
not alone, because that can be, like you said, really isolating at this time of year. And connectivity to each other. Like those are the key elements.
Yeah.
Just knowing that like, yeah, it is cold, it's rainy. We've had some wild storms out here. And like, yeah, we can come together as a community to find that warmth, to find that joy, to find appreciation in each other and in each other's backgrounds. I think
Yeah.
that's the key element, is that community, that real sense of community.
And this community is arguably one of the best communities in the entire world. I know that's true. I'm just saying, right?
I mean, I've only been here on the island for 4 years and really active in the community for the last year. And
Happy anniversary, by the way.
would agree. I would 100% agree. I've never ever felt the sense of, our artist community where people come together, but also seeing so much a greater, like the people who are not as involved in the arts, but are patrons of it, really being involved. It's a phenomenal place to live, Nanaimo.
And having said that, it is so phenomenal that you have plans for the future besides what we're talking about today for Friday night. Do you have some ideas in mind for the spring and for the summer showcase for next year? Because this year, you guys pumped out a whole lot of good stuff, I might tell you. Like just for listeners who have just tuned in and don't know that I'm talking to Amanda Cutting from, Act Theater. I think it's important that they know that you put on three incredible plays in Mafio Sutton Park this summer. You put on, the Haunted Hamlet in the October before or November just before.
Yeah.
This year, you put on another program after that, which I recently saw and forgot the name of, but
Genesis
nonetheless,
really play, yeah.
but you did. You have been a busy camper.
We have been, yeah. We really wanted to share what we could bring to our community. And there is a big demand from our artists to be active here. And we wanted to provide more opportunity for that. Not to say that there isn't places that artists can do their work, but there's only so many shows each company can handle administratively.
Of course.
Um,
Yeah.
and everybody kind of has their own niche and style. And the summer doing Much Ado and Alice's Wonderland, and then partnering with Murmur Arts Collective, which did a dance piece
Yeah.
about like mental wellness, which was phenomenal.
Mhm.
That's a really great opportunity to provide summer entertainment outside to enjoy our beautiful outdoors. And then we did Genesis, the Mary Shelley play, which talks about
That's what it was.
how
Yeah.
Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein and got the inspiration of it. That show is actually now, due to the performance here, going on tour.
Wow.
Yeah. So we've had
Congratulations.
from some other islands to bring it out to their communities. So that's going to be happening in the spring. And then we're in the pre-planning stages about doing another summer festival as well. So hopefully that will go through, and we'll see what the asks are within the community. I mean, we did have a very ambitious year, and I think that like we really did grow. Like Genesis had some of the highest ticket sales our community has seen for a show, which was really great pre-sales. And yeah, and it's a really fun show. Like we won a bunch of awards for it internationally, and being able to bring that kind of quality of production here, but hire local performers and say like, yes, we don't have to bring artists in to do quality productions. We actually have them here.
Absolutely.
We just need to, as a community, invest in our own artists. And that does mean buying tickets and coming out to see shows so we can pay our artists to want to stay in Nanaimo. It's that circular of like, you got to invest local to keep local businesses. This is one of those.
The theater, you betcha. And speaking of that, right, because we're talking ticket sales and Friday's production is coming up.
You bet.
So I am curious, how much are the tickets and how do people get them? Can they get them in advance? Can they get them at the door? All the good stuff. All the
Yeah.
important stuff. So, by the way, I should have told you guys to get a piece of paper and a pen. I'm hoping that by nature, because you listen to the show every Monday at 1 o'clock, that you naturally have one beside your table. Grab your pen. Now's the time to write down the information.
So first of all, you can get the tickets by going to acttheater.ca/tickets. And there's a link right there on the website that you can go to. The tickets are for adults, $20. Because this is a family-friendly event, we really wanted to make it accessible for
Very
families.
low, very,
We
very
have a
affordable.
family pass that includes 2 adults and 2 kids for $30. Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, it's an amazing, amazing price point to really make it affordable for people. And students are 18. And if price is a barrier for you, please email me directly. My email is on the website, and we'll do what we can to make sure that you're able to attend it, because really being a part of community is the priority here.
Yes.
And then we have at the door tickets so people can walk up and buy. The venue will only hold so many people. Hopefully we sell out, because selling out means that we have more money to give back to our community.
Yes.
Yes, you can buy tickets. We do recommend book your tickets in advance just so that you're guaranteed a spot. And we'll have part of our giving back and fundraising within our company is that we have an online 50-50 auction that we're doing as well. And the items will be showcased at the event. It's a really unique construct, Kathy, where we go to different artists and businesses, local businesses in our community, and instead of asking for free, we ask them to split the profits with us. So they get to put an item in, they get to tell us what the bidding price needs to start at, what the value is. And then when someone purchases it through our silent auction, half of those proceeds go back to that business and that artist, and the other half goes to the company and the charities that we're supporting. And that's because artists are constantly asked for things for free so much. We
Oh, it's
want
so
to
true.
that mentality and reinvest again back into our local
Agree.
community. So they can go to our Facebook page and they can bid. That opens up today, and bid on items. The great things from stocking stuffers to pieces of jewelry to pieces of artwork by local artists, and resources for people like kids acting lessons and things like that.
Mm.
But that'll also be showcased at the event as well.
That's incredible. And I love the 50-50 idea.
Isn't it
I
cool?
really love that idea because you're absolutely right. Artists struggle. They really
And
do.
small businesses, like right now,
Yeah,
this time of year is the place that sometimes carries a business the full year round. So asking
exactly.
for something for free, even though there's so many generous businesses out here in Nanaimo, is a really hard ask. And I wanted to make sure that this is, again, it's a collective community benefit.
Yes. And the truth of the matter is you're quite right that at this time of year, there's a lot of asking going on. And, and I completely understand it. There's such a huge need in our community all the way around. But again, it's about investing in the people that we have to continue to try to support the arts as well. And frankly, a lot of the arts all of the arts that I do is done by volunteer, right? And so it's a lot of hours. People don't realize how many hours are invested into putting on the radio show or the television program. We've got 18 volunteers that do the television program as well. Like there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes. And so we know that for theater, it's a little different because, it's a little different because you have to pay for your script, right? There's so many costs that are associated with putting plays on. And, it's really important that we try to support the arts as best as we can, right? There's a lot out there for free, but there's a lot that really requires a couple bucks to keep it moving and moving in such a brilliant way. Okay, so the good news is that it's happening on Friday. You were talking about parking. I'm just St. Andrew's Church, right? That's the big green church, right? Downtown, correct?
All decorated with Christmas
I
lights. And
know it's one of the most beautiful churches in our city. I
yeah,
love the fact that the old stage is coming out. Like to me, that is like because I mean that's one of the smells. Remember we were talking earlier, and I was saying like what's that feeling? What do you remember? And I remember those old church,
yeah,
rack
the wood and the
wood.
smell. Yeah.
It's a smell. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. So I'm really delighted that you get to bring that out. But you also talked about parking. Where do people park? You
Yeah,
said,
there's a parking lot right beside the church
oh,
that
there
is
is. Oh, perfect.
property. So it's really accessible parking, and there's also street parking
Great.
that's all around. So it's not one of those places that you're gonna struggle to find somewhere to park, which is really nice. And we have accessible entrances into the building, accessible washrooms. So it's a
Just,
really beautiful arts venue.
I'm really excited and look forward to being there myself. I look forward to, as a matter of fact, as soon as I'm finished recording this, I think I'll be going to buy my ticket. And I suggest that you do the same. So listen, if you want to enjoy this production, welcome Winter Celebration, a night of Yuletide cheers this Friday night. November the 29th. It starts at 6:30, 7 o'clock, the show begins, and there's all kinds of festivities that are happening all around. If you've been listening to the program, you know it's going to be grand. And I know it's going to be grand too. Thank you so much, Amanda, for being on the show today. As always, when I close out the program, I'm always looking for that hunk of wisdom. This is no different. I'm looking for that little, if you could imbibe on the community, the one thing you want our community to really know about this season, what would that look like for you?
Uh, it is what it has been for centuries, a season of community.
Yeah.
That's the important thing is finding those ways that we can be involved in a collective manner, whether that's micro with you and your buddy and having a sleepover party, or going out to see a show with your family and creating core memories. It's about community.
Yeah, now's the time to come together for sure. And I'm really, really hoping that people do take that time and that they do, come outside, be with someone or bring someone in and just really enjoy each other. And that is the essence of what community is all about. So thank you, Amanda, for being on the program today. I'm really delighted that you came. Can't wait to be there on Friday. I can't wait to give you a squish. I hope that it is marvelous and successful and everything you hope it will be. Ladies and gents, I do appreciate you tuning in to Act 3 on CHLY 101.7 FM. It's the end of the program. I'm so sorry you missed it, but by all means, you can check us out on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share, 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 share. It's how we share the wealth here in our wonderful city of Nanaimo. And thanks again for tuning in to CHLY 101.7 FM. Have yourself a great day. Bye for now.